For almost a year now, I've been working with Base 11 on this project, the Space Challenge, and with some Aerospace Expo that we hosted in the fall. And so it's been a pleasure to get to know a lot of the student rocketry teams and get excited about all of the work that you guys are doing. So thank you for being inspiring the way you are. So Kyla, do you want to go over our agenda for our call?
Sure. So the goal of this call is for us to be able to help you in any and all ways that we can with the registration process. So I know the various teams are on the call are on different stages of it, and what we'll be doing today is walking through everything that must be completed during your registration and being able to answer some questions to do with those points. So if you do have any questions, there's a few ways to use this webinar. You'll see a Q&A box in the bottom. That's the best place to ask your questions. It'll make sure we don't lose it in the chat. So please post any questions in there. And you can do it as we're going through the discussion. And then if appropriate, we'll answer it in the moment. If not, we'll save it for the Q&A session at the end. Of course, you can also comment in the chat and talk there, but please try and put all questions into the Q&A. All right. Back to you, Christine.
Okay, my plan is basically to walk us through the entry form and try to answer some questions that I know have been asked already and lend some guidance. And then I'm sure you guys will have some more specific and detailed questions as we get toward the end. And I will try not to belabor this point of going through the entry form itself. So I assume everyone has registered on HeroX. If not, I know that Kyla will show us how to make sure everyone does that at the end. So one person from your team is going to begin the entry, and that's this submission page. The title is where I assume you'll put the name of your rocket. I know you guys always have cool names for your rockets. The general information, the university affiliation, this is where you're going to list the lead sanctioning university. So if more than one university is working together, please list the one that is taking the lead here. You have the option to put a team name. So if you are working with multiple organizations, that's a good place for you to reflect that, list out the multiple universities or organizations. The rest of this optional contact information I know is optional and it may not seem important, but you guys are doing cool stuff on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. And so help us find you and let us share with our audiences the cool work that you're doing. So please do go ahead, give us this info when you fill it out. The contact information is really important that you give us 2 people who are very responsible and are going to be checking their email. The primary faculty advisor is hopefully self-explanatory. There have been some questions from teams about if there are any stipulations about what that faculty advisor needs to be in terms of a level of professorship, or do they have to be an aerospace professor? And for the most part, the answer is that it's very open-ended. It needs to be a faculty member on campus who is going to advise and help you guys and is willing to sort of champion your cause at the university. This secondary contact, the CEO or team leader, is a student. We all know that a lot of times the faculty on your campus are extremely busy. They might not be super responsive to emails that come from the Space Challenge. So we'll be sure to always copy this CEO and team leader, but make sure that this is someone who is going to be responsive and is going to share information with the rest of the team if necessary. The types of information that will be sent to these 2 contacts include things like scheduling site visits from the Safety Council or the senior advisor, as well as information on getting the licensing for the Dassault software. So those are important contacts for us to have good information to reach them. For the team roster, we have a form that was created, so you can download this and just add to it. You'll note that there are 4 positions that are mandatory. I'm sorry, 5 positions if you count the faculty advisor. And then there are a number of other positions that are recommended, but of course you can edit this as is appropriate for your team, and everyone's going to form their teams a little bit differently. Just keep in mind that those 5 positions are required. So when you fill that out and save it, you'll just upload it here to the team roster area. Supporting documentation, the university authorization form. This is a really critical piece. This will be completed by the university that is taking the lead if you are working with more than one university. And this is the formal legal agreement and acceptance of the rules of the challenge by your university on behalf of your team, saying that they understand the risks and the benefits of participating, and they're willing to let you guys go forward. This non-university competition team entrant, or if there are any secondary universities you're collaborating with, or I think there might be a couple of cases where there's a high school or a nonprofit or outreach organization that teams are working with, you will list them here. And again, the faculty advisor is listed here just to make sure that the university also knows who the main point of contact and faculty champion is for you guys. This part regarding the winnings is probably going to take a fair bit of discussion between the students and the university. And to give you a little bit of background on that, initially Base 11 had decided how we thought we wanted prize money to be spent. And when we shared some of that information with universities early on, before the prize was announced, there was a very strong reaction, polarized reaction to it. And so we said, you know what, we will let the universities determine for themselves, in collaboration with their students, how they would like to have that money spent. So our recommendation is that half of the money supports STEM education with an emphasis on diversity and inclusion outreach. That's what Base 11 is all about. We're all about increasing underrepresented minorities and women in STEM fields. That's what all of our work's about. So we would like to see half of it go to programming for that. And then the other half we would like to see go directly to the Rocket team. And it's possible that that could be scholarships. It's possible it could be stipends and prize money to people who participated on the team but graduated, as well as those who are currently members. Or you could say we want to build a lab with it. Whatever you want, we want you guys to discuss it at the outset with your university and then spell it out here so that everyone's on the same page. Your university is, the students are, we are. And then very important that this document be signed by the dean of your school or the president of the university or whatever the corresponding title is at your campus. So that's a big one. I expect that will take some time for everyone to get completed. The next part is insurance requirements, and there have been a lot of questions about this. So the first place that you should talk to someone about insurance is your university's risk management department. Most of the schools that are working through this and having success are working with the insurance department at their university. Most of the schools, a lot of the schools are self-insured, but they all carry university insurance that covers the work that's going on in labs on your campus every day. And your risk management team probably also has experience with off-campus activities that students are doing, like participating in the Hyperloop or the Mars Rover Challenge. So that's where I definitely suggest you start your first conversations. Certainly there, before trying to look at outside insurance companies. There are National Association of Rocketry and EEE that offer launch insurance, third-party insurance, but we are not there yet. You don't need to be getting launch insurance yet. And I think really within the university, in your risk management team is where you want to start those conversations. So most of the schools are just adding Base 11 as an additional insured, which is for most of them a relatively simple process. Getting a certificate that has Base 11 or National Rocketry League's name on it, and that's what you're going to choose to upload here. We are asking that you at least make an effort to obtain volunteer accident insurance. That covers industry people, volunteers from the community who you have, your Uncle Joe who's going to drive an engine somewhere for you in his truck. That covers the volunteers who are coming into contact with your team. So we would like to see you attempt to get that insurance. It would be good for everyone involved if you could get that. I think that's it for the more serious stuff.
There's one question that came in with insurance that might make sense to address now. Can our insurance cover non-HeroX firing events? And are you concerned about our non-HeroX rocketry activities?
So can your insurance cover it? I would say sure. I think, know that we are really focused on your work that is around this competition. So some universities are going to have a team that's working on a 10,000-foot rocket that they're going to go out and do at Spaceport America's Cup in the third week of June. We're not necessarily concerned with that part of it. We're concerned with the work that you're doing specifically for the rocket in the Base 11 Space Challenge. But if your insurance does cover more than just the Space Challenge, I don't see a problem with that. Hopefully that answers the question. So I see a question here about liquid oxygen firings. And I guess my question is, is that through your risk management at your university that they are not covering it? Or are you going to outside parties? We can come back to that one, Sean.
Yeah, at the end, Sean, we can also set this up so that you can talk and share at the end if there's some time, as opposed to doing this over text, over the chat as well.
Okay. All right, you guys, the fun stuff though, the team introduction. So you can expect all of this part from here down, the team introduction, the video diary, those types of things, to be used in marketing materials. So, you know, one of the analogies that's been made is that this is like the NC2A for rocketry. So imagine if this was your college football team, but you guys you're a rocket team instead. So tell us about you guys. Help us get excited about your work and what you're doing and what you think your strengths are. In the mentor from the aerospace industry, please tell us who you're working with and what areas of expertise they have and guidance. As you may know, we have a mentorship form that's on the HeroX site, and we've had quite a few people register saying that they would like to mentor teams or provide mentorship to the Space Challenge overall. So if we can get a better understanding of who's already mentoring you, any holes that exist, we can help match up people with your team or with several teams to provide guidance as needed. Elvis says, what happens if the majority of the team hasn't had much rocketry experience but has had engineering experience? That's awesome. That's fine. Tell us about it. Tell us about the different engineering experiences you've had and how you are going to apply those different areas of expertise to this new endeavor of building a rocket. I mean, certainly robotics and electronics, there are a whole bunch of different things that you've probably worked on that you see how they're going to fit together with the rocket. And so just tell us about that. It's not a problem at all.
Here's another question while we're talking about mentors. Would you like them registered on HeroX? Do they need to accept the legal agreement? Anything like that?
That's
for their participation as a mentor.
I would love for them to register on HeroX because I think that they might be resources for other teams. However, it's not a requirement. All right. So down to the video diary, this sort of again gets back to what I was mentioning. This will be used for marketing purposes. You can certainly load it to your YouTube page, but also you'll be submitting the file to us and we'll be putting it on our YouTube page and sharing it. Hopefully a lot of you guys saw the videos that were submitted before June 6th from some teams that were very excited about the idea of participating. So we're looking forward to getting to know you guys through the video. And I like to think of it as, okay, if we're sitting here in 2021, what do you want us to look back and see that we learned about you at the very beginning of the challenge, what you told us about what you were going to be great at, what it was that you were going to do to make a difference. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing your guys' videos and sharing them more broadly. The team information, I know that these are just a lot of pieces that everyone on your team needs to complete, including the faculty advisor, but they're pretty straightforward. It's a signed media waiver, which says that we have permission to use your image, and that's because you're submitting video and pictures to us throughout the challenge. a completed bio form. Again, we want to get to know each of you, each of the students, and a photo of you guys, and then only for team members who are under the age of 18, they will be required to have a parental consent form. And as new team members join, you guys, the new team members will also need to be filling out and submitting these documents. And twice a year, you'll be submitting a new team roster, because we understand, of course, team members are going to come and go, they're going to graduate, they're going to have too many classes, whatever it is. So twice a year, you will be submitting an updated team roster, everyone who's on the team. And at that time, we'll make sure that we have all of this information from each of the team members as well, the media waiver, the bio form, their photo. Couple of other questions that were asked in advance that I want to answer. Someone asked about if there's a commitment once you sign up. And so I think the simplest answer is no, you're not tied to 4 years in the competition if you sign up at the beginning. Because it's not super easy to sign up, and because you'll be investing a lot of time in it, we figure that everyone has skin in the game, everyone feels pretty invested, but we also understand that probably after each phase, there will be a certain amount of drop off. There will be a couple of teams that for some reason don't move on to the next phase, and that's just to be expected. So I hope that answers your question about commitment once you sign up. There was also a question regarding cost to participate, and that's a pretty open-ended question. So let me try to answer it, and if the person's on the line, they can fine-tune the question for me if I don't answer it. But in general, the estimates that we've been receiving are that building a rocket like this will probably cost about $250,000 for a team. That'll vary considerably depending on the amount of support that you get from the university, or donations that you might get from industry partners that can donate equipment and materials to you. So that's our rough estimate for cost. Kyla, were there some other questions that were asked in advance that I haven't answered that I should go ahead and cover now?
Yes, while I'm pulling up that list, one that came in while you were talking is, would the team have to decide what the organization would do with the prize money while registering for the challenge? And I think you might have addressed this briefly, but maybe if you can just kind of rephrase it to make sure it's clear.
Yes, we would like you to articulate what it is you plan to do with the money. Now, this doesn't have to be extremely specific. It doesn't need to be, we're going to buy a, model number XYZ for our lab. But if you're planning on distributing it to students who participated on the team, if you're planning on making it scholarships for future students, if you're planning on using it to support an improved lab in the future, we would like you to be clear about that so that you and everyone on the team and at the university and also us knows how you intend to spend that money. We don't want someone to enter the competition thinking that it's going to be spent one way and then be sorely disappointed if you get 4 years later and for some reason there's new leadership at your university or on your team and they decide to spend it a different way. So we want to be everyone clear at the outset about how that money is going to be spent.
Great. Are there any administrative costs we need to pay HeroX associated with the competition that each team needs to pay?
No, there are not.
Okay. The next question we have is, how affiliated does the team need to be with the university? Could teams use this competition as a platform for starting a commercial space startup and attempt to get funding from revenue and investments rather than sponsors and grants?
I really like the entrepreneurialism in that question. I think that sounds great. There are some requirements about the percentage that need to be students or alumni of the university, though. So we'd need to look at that. I think it's a maximum of 15% that can be non-students or recent alumni. And when I say that, what I mean is if you're a student and you graduate, you get to continue working on the team. That's fine. That doesn't count against your 15% that could be from high schools or community colleges or whatever. And we, my CEO, Landon Taylor, isn't on this call, but he is all about entrepreneurialism. He would love to see there be some spin-offs of this that were innovative money-making endeavors. I think he would like to actually help with some NSF grants that are specifically for that type of thing. And he would love to see that tie into this challenge. There might be some rules with your university about how that works. But from our perspective, that sounds great. I'd be excited to see it.
Awesome. Okay, how do we indicate that we are interested in having new industry mentors contact us?
Why don't you put that in the this box here when it says, do you have a mentor from the aerospace industry? I would go ahead and make a note that you would like us to help pair you with someone.
Great. Okay, so we have a bit more clarification on the company question, and this might be something that makes more sense to follow up with on after. But as a graduating senior interested in starting a company around the competition, the rules are more restrictive in doing so. So I think that might be something where it's probably specific to your case, and I'll make note of your name and we'll make sure we follow up with you afterwards on it. Okay. Can student teams buy or get for free big hardware pieces from companies such as an engine?
Yep. Yes, you can.
Great. Okay. What else do we have here? What are the limitations on carrying past projects from the university into the ongoing contest?
I don't think there are any limitations on it. I think a lot of the teams that are planning to participate have been working on projects like this for a while or have been building up to it, and I think we expect that. So at first blush, I say that that's fine.
Okay, great. Why don't we take a pause in some of these questions now, and I'll share my screen and show people what they need to do on HeroX. And in the meantime, please do add anything else that you have into the question field, and we'll make sure we address them at the end. Okay. Okay, can everyone see this?
Yep.
Great. So this is the base space challenge on HeroX. I'm assuming most people on the webinar right now are familiar with it, but a few things that I'd like to highlight. The first is this guidelines tab, and this is really where the meat of the competition is. So everything you need to know is essentially in this guidelines tab, including, as we scroll further down, all of these registration parts that we were just talking about now. So definitely familiarize yourself with the challenge guidelines. Christine also mentioned a lot of documents during our discussion. They're all linked in the team entry form, as you saw, but you can also click through and see all of the documents saved in another tab here. So lots of different ways that you can access this information. It's really important that everyone on your team signs up on HeroX. The main reason this is so important is because everyone needs to accept the legal agreement. So this is every student that's participating and the faculty that are also on your team. So anyone that you have on that team roster needs to sign up. So this is an example of what it looks like if you have not signed up for the challenge yet. And to do so, you simply click Accept Challenge, and it'll take you through a number of questions and to the legal agreement, which will have you registered. So start there. And now, once everyone is signed up on the challenge, we also want you to be able to connect with your team, be able to interact on the challenge page with your team, and we've created the functionality for you to be able to do so. So if you are a team captain, you'll be prompted to create a team, and I recommend you do that. So here's a team example that I created for the University of HeroX, and I bribed some colleagues to join my team so I could show you what this looks like. And so you can see everyone that you have on your team. You have a forum, so a place where you can talk about what you're working on throughout, and it's only visible to people that are on your team. And you can also manage who's part of it. So right now, the team captain is the only person that can invite new people, but I can change that. So I can allow my coworker Liz to invite more people. When I'd like to invite someone, there's just this invite button up at the top, and you can enter your email addresses. They'll get a notification you've invited them, and they'll see it in their email and they can accept that invitation. The other thing that they can do, I'm just gonna switch screens again here to make sure you see the different view of it, is you can click under community and go and see the teams, and you can see all the different teams that have signed up. So let's say I was with the Toronto team, I could click and I can actually request to join their team as well. So you can have your fellow students request to join and then you just approve. So there's a few different ways to do it, but it should be pretty straightforward for you. Awesome. Okay.
So I see a comment related to entrepreneurship activity, and that is great that there's some more interest in that. So that raises another point that I wanted to mention, which is that we're planning a number of webinars over the course of the competition. And so I think how we can help you with some entrepreneurship will be one of those. A couple of others that we're looking at include bringing in some recent graduates from Rocket teams who maybe were able to recruit and grow their team, some of the people who have tips about fundraising and how to increase fundraising for your team, as well as some people who've done really incredible work on outreach to some underserved communities and introducing rocketry to them and trying to bring in their pipeline. So those are a couple webinars that I'm thinking of in my head, but we are open to suggestions from you guys as well as you work through the early phases of the challenge. Like, okay, what is it that you wish someone could mentor you on, or that you wish you could have a webinar about and get some more information on? Because that's feedback we would love to get from you guys, and then we would like to schedule some of those webinars. So please post in the forum or send an email if you have some ideas. But entrepreneurship is one I'm going to add to the list. And then the only other thing that I wanted to bring up is that, you know, we very much want you guys to succeed. We want this to be a good experience for all of you. So please do keep asking questions, posting things particularly to the forum so that other people can see them and get their questions answered as well. And as you bring issues to us, it doesn't necessarily mean that we can solve them for you, but it does mean that as we start to see patterns emerge where teams are facing challenges or need some extra help, that enables me to go to our leadership and try to, you know, get some help for you guys, get some mitigation in there. So please do keep letting us know how things are going for you. And the other thing I want to offer is that if any of you are having trouble with your universities in terms of them understanding the educational benefits for you, and they're not sure if they want to sanction you participating, we're happy to have one-on-one conference calls to help explain to them. We did this with a number of universities before we announced the challenge because we needed to know that the challenge was viable and that there was anyone who could participate. But there were obviously a lot of universities that are interested now that didn't have that opportunity to have a call with their leadership and our leadership. So if that is something that you end up feeling like would be very helpful, then we're happy to do that as well. Just send me an email and let me know. I don't see any other questions popping up. So that must mean we have covered at least some of it.
Absolutely. So on the challenge page that I was just showing you, there's a forum there, and you'll see there's a lot of activity in the forum already. So please use it, post your questions, and we'll be able to answer what we can. But there's also a wealth of expertise in this community. There's other universities that are going through and trying to figure out the exact same process that you are. So the forum is also a really good way to get insight from them and to be able to share some of what you're learning in this registration process. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today, for all the questions you submitted ahead of time and everything that you shared on this conversation. I know Christine and I are both really excited to move forward and to see where this goes. So it's an absolute pleasure to meet you. And please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any other questions. Great. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day. All right, Christine, are you good if we end this now?
Yep, absolutely.
Wonderful. All right, thanks so much, everyone.